The twins were born on a Wednesday in March, 6 months after we learned we were having them. 6 months of preparing two cribs, picking two names, imagining two futures. 6 months of peace. The kind of peace I'd forgotten existed. Marcus and I spent those months doing normal couple things, painting the nursery, arguing about baby names, taking classes on how to change diapers and handle sleep schedules. We held hands in waiting rooms, made plans for the future, laughed about how unprepared we were. It was beautiful. It was everything I'd wanted since the day I signed my name 17 times and married a stranger. But I should have known peace doesn't last forever, not for people like us. The labor started at 2 a.m. I woke Marcus up, terrified and excited in equal measure. It's time. He was out of bed instantly, grabbing the hospital bag we'd packed weeks ago, helping me downstairs, his hands shaking the whole time. "You're okay," he kept saying. To me or himself, I couldn't tell. "You're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. Everything's okay." "Marcus, breathe." "I am breathing." "No, you're panicking. Breathe." He laughed nervously. "I'm about to become a father to two babies at once. I'm allowed to panic." Fair point. The drive to the hospital was surreal. Empty streets, streetlights passing overhead. Marcus was holding my hand so tight it hurt. "I love you," he said suddenly. "I need you to know that. Whatever happens today, whatever comes next, I love you more than I've ever loved anything." Why does that sound like goodbye? It's not goodbye. It's just, he paused. "I'm terrified of something going wrong, of losing you, of not being a good enough father, of everything. Join the club." I squeezed his hand. "But we're doing this together, remember? You, me, and two tiny humans who are about to make our lives beautiful chaos." "Beautiful chaos," he repeated. "I like that." We pulled up to the hospital, and our lives changed forever. Labor was 12 hours. 12 hours of pain and fear, and Marcus refusing to leave my side even when the nurses told him he should take a break. "I'm not leaving her," he said firmly. "Not for a second." So he stayed, held my hand, whispered encouragement, looked absolutely terrified the entire time. At 2:47 p.m., our first baby was born. A girl. She came out screaming, red-faced and furious at the world. "She's perfect," Marcus breathed, tears streaming down his face. "Ava, she's perfect." They placed her on my chest, warm and wet and impossibly small. Our daughter. I didn't know who she was genetically, didn't care. She was ours. "Lily," I said. We'd chosen the name weeks ago. "Her name is Lily." Marcus kissed my forehead, kissed Lily's head. "Hi, Lily, I'm your dad. I've been waiting to meet you." Then the contractions started again. Baby number 2 was ready. Our son was born 11 minutes later, quieter than his sister, calmer. He opened his eyes and just looked at us like he was studying the world he'd just entered. "And he's perfect too," Marcus said, his voice breaking completely. "They're both perfect." They placed him next to Lily on my chest. Two babies, two heartbeats, two little lives we'd created out of love and desperation and impossible choices. "Noah," Marcus said softly. "His name should be Noah." "Noah," I agreed. "Lily and Noah." We sat there, Marcus and me and our twins, in a hospital room that smelled like antiseptic and new life, and we were a family. Finally, completely, undeniably. "We did it," Marcus whispered. "We actually did it." "We survived," I corrected, "and now we get to live." He kissed me, soft and grateful. "I love you so much." "I love you too." For one perfect moment, everything was right in the world. Then the nurse came back with paperwork, and everything fell apart. Mr. and Mrs. Harrington, she said pleasantly, we need to complete the birth certificates, and there's been a complication. Marcus looked up sharply. What kind of complication? The genetic testing we ran as part of the standard twin protocol. It flagged something unusual. She shifted uncomfortably. Normally, we wouldn't mention this, but given the legal history of your case, our legal department thought you should be aware. My stomach dropped. Aware of what? The twins have different fathers. The room went silent. We know, Marcus said carefully. That's not news to us. Yes, but the nurse pulled out a tablet. The genetic markers don't match what we have on file. Neither baby's DNA matches the donor profile from the IVF clinic. I felt cold. What are you saying? I'm saying that according to these results, one baby is definitely yours, Mr. Harrington, your genetic child. But the other baby, she hesitated. The other baby's paternal DNA matches someone else in our system. Someone who had genetic testing done here 6 months ago. Who? Marcus's voice was dangerous. The nurse looked genuinely distressed. I can't tell you that. Patient confidentiality, but our legal team is flagging it because this person is, well, there are some concerns about the circumstances of conception. Concerns? I was shaking now. What concerns? Ma'am, I think you should speak with hospital administration and possibly legal counsel. I'm not qualified to. Tell us who, Marcus said. Each word was a blade. Tell us whose DNA my daughter has. The nurse looked between us. I really can't, but she lowered her voice. But you should know that this person has filed paperwork claiming parental rights. As of this morning, the world tilted. Someone was claiming rights to our daughter. Someone whose DNA matched Lily. But it wasn't the donor. We'd used an anonymous donor. They couldn't claim rights. So who? I need a name, Marcus said. Now. The nurse looked terrified. Mr. Harrington, I could lose my job. And I could make your hospital regret not telling me who's trying to take my daughter. Your choice. She pulled up the file, showed us the name with shaking hands, and I stopped breathing because the name on the screen was impossible. James Chen. Dr. James Chen, the man from the restaurant, the old classmate, the researcher. No, I whispered. That can't be. But Marcus was already standing, already moving, face white with rage and something that looked like comprehension. The clinic, he said. He worked at the clinic, or with the clinic, or... He turned to me. Ava, did you ever give him access to your medical information? Your records? No, we just had coffee once. We talked about his research. I stopped. His research on genetic markers. Marcus closed his eyes. He used you. He got your DNA somehow. A cup, a napkin, something. And he used it to create a child. Probably substituted his genetic material for the donors during the IVF procedure. That's insane. Why would he? Because he wanted you. Marcus's voice was hollow. He saw you with me. Saw that you were married, unavailable, building a life. And he decided to force his way into it by creating a child that's genetically his and yours. The nurse nodded slowly. That would explain why the hospital flagged it. If Dr. Chen had access to the lab procedures, if he manipulated the samples, that would be medical fraud, assault, possibly more. And he's claiming parental rights? I couldn't process this, couldn't breathe. He can't. He manipulated, he violated, he can try. Marcus said. And he is trying. That's why he filed paperwork this morning. He's been waiting for the twins to be born so he could prove a genetic connection and claim custody. I looked down at Lily, at her tiny face, her perfect features. She was mine, ours. Marcus and I had chosen her before she was even born. But genetically, she wasn't Marcus's. She was James Chen's. What do we do? I whispered. Marcus's jaw was set. We fight, again, like we always do. But I could hear the exhaustion in his voice, the defeat. We'd just survived Richard, just survived contracts and blackmail and 20 years of manipulation. And now this. Another man trying to take our family. Another fight we didn't ask for. I can't do this again, I said, tears streaming down my face. Marcus, I can't. I just want to hold my babies. I just want to be happy. I can't fight another battle. Then don't. He sat beside me, pulled me close. Let me fight this one. You stay here with Lily and Noah. Bond with them. Love them. Be their mother. And I'll handle James. How? However, I have to. His voice was cold, that old coldness from when we first met. The Marcus Harrington who was made of ice and control. He violated you, assaulted you, created a child through fraud and manipulation. That's not just unethical, it's criminal. And I'm gonna make sure he pays for every second of it. Marcus, I will not let another man take what's mine. He looked at me fiercely. You're mine. These babies are mine. This family is mine. And I don't care what any genetic test says. Lily is my daughter. And no one, not James, not any court, not anyone, is taking her from us. I wanted to believe him, but I'd learned that wanting something doesn't make it true. Diana arrived within the hour. She took one look at us. Marcus rigid with rage, me crying, the twins sleeping peacefully, unaware their whole world was about to become a war zone. And she knew. Tell me everything. We did. The genetic testing, James Chen, the manipulation, the custody claim. Diana's face went through shock, then fury, then calculation. This is prosecutable, she said firmly. What he did is medical fraud at minimum, possibly sexual assault by deception, and definitely grounds for terminating any parental rights he thinks he has. But proving it will take time, Marcus said. Investigations, legal battles, and meanwhile, he's filed custody paperwork. What if a judge grants him temporary visitation? What if they won't? Diana's voice was steel. Not once I explain the circumstances. Not once I show that this child was conceived through fraud and without your wife's consent. No judge would reward that with custody. You don't know that, I said quietly. Courts care about genetics, about biological parents, and James is Lily's biological father, whether we like it or not. Biology, obtained through criminal means, doesn't create parental rights. It creates grounds for prosecution. Diana sat beside me. But Ava's right that this won't be simple. James is smart. He's probably been planning this for months. And if he has any kind of case prepared, any argument for why his actions were justified, or why he deserves access to Lily, we need to be ready to counter it. How do we counter a man who's claiming his own daughter? Marcus asked. By proving he's not a father. He's a criminal who used medical manipulation to force himself into your family. Diana pulled out her laptop. I'm going to contact the clinic, the hospital, every institution involved. Get security footage, lab records, employee testimonies. Someone knew what he was doing. Someone helped him or looked the other way, and we're going to find them. And if we can't prove it, I asked, if he covered his tracks too well, Diana looked at me seriously. Then we fight on different grounds. We prove that he's unstable, dangerous, that he's stalked you, that he's fixated, that giving him access to Lily would endanger her. We build a case, not about genetics, but about what's best for the child. That could take years, Marcus said. Yes, it could. Diana closed her laptop. And that's the reality you need to accept right now. This isn't like Richard's trial. This isn't about contracts or blackmail or things we can prove in a courtroom quickly. This is about parental rights. And those battles are long, ugly, emotionally devastating. I looked down at Lily, at her perfect, innocent face. She doesn't deserve this, I whispered. Neither of them do. They should get to grow up safe and loved, not fought over by adults who can't figure out their problems. No, they don't deserve this, Diana agreed, but they have you and Marcus, and you'll protect them. That's what parents do. Marcus stood abruptly. Where can I find James? What hospital does he work at? Marcus, no, Diana started. I'm not going to hurt him. I just want to talk. But his eyes said otherwise. His eyes said he wanted to destroy James Chen the way he destroyed Richard. You can't, I said. Marcus, you can't confront him. That's exactly what he wants. To make you look unstable, violent, to prove you're not fit to raise Lily. Then what do I do? He turned to face me, and the anguish in his eyes broke my heart. How do I protect you and our children from this? How do I make this right? You don't. Not right now. I shifted the twins carefully. Right now, you sit down. You hold your son. You hold your daughter. And you be their father. The rest, we'll figure it out. Together, like we always do. He sat, took Noah gently, then Lily, held both of them, one in each arm, and just breathed. They're so small, he said quietly. So fragile. How am I supposed to protect something this small? From people like James, like Richard, like my own father? By loving them, I said. By showing up every day. By being the father you never had. What if that's not enough? It will be. It has to be. We sat there in that hospital room, holding our twins, facing another impossible situation. And I realized something. This was our life now. Not peace, not simple, just a series of battles we'd have to fight to keep the family we'd built. Marcus had finally chosen me, chosen us, chosen this life. But the cost of that choice was going to be everything we had. The next few days were chaos. The media found out about James's custody claim. The story exploded. Billionaire's wife had another man's baby. Genetic fraud rocks Harrington family. Twin babies, two fathers. Inside the scandal, every headline made it worse, made us look like we'd lied or cheated or somehow deserved this. The truth, that James had violated me, manipulated genetic material, committed fraud, got lost in the sensationalism. Diana worked around the clock, got statements from clinic employees, footage of James accessing restricted areas, proof that he'd been obsessed with me for months before the IVF procedure. It was damning, clear, obvious, but it didn't matter because James had the one thing that trumped everything, genetic connection to Lily. And he was willing to fight for it. His lawyers filed motion after motion, demanded DNA testing, requested visitation, claimed that regardless of how the conception happened, he was Lily's biological father and deserved rights. This is insane, Marcus said after the third emergency hearing in a week. We're treating a criminal like he's a victim, like he's some heartbroken father instead of a predator who forced his way into our family. I know, Diana said, but the law is slow, and genetics matter in family court. We have to prove not just that the committed fraud, but that giving him access to Lily would harm her. That's a higher bar. She's 3 weeks old. Any separation from us would harm her. I agree, but we need expert testimony to prove it. Child psychologists, development specialists, people who can testify that disrupting her bond with you and Ava and would cause lasting damage. How long will that take? Months, maybe longer. Marcus looked like he wanted to put his fist through another wall. We don't have months. James is filing for emergency custody. If a judge grants it, they won't. I'll make sure of it. Diana's voice was firm. But you need to prepare for this being your life for a while. Court dates, evaluations, scrutiny, the media watching everything you do with those babies. So we're prisoners again, I said quietly. Different cage, same trap. Diana looked at me with sympathy. I'm sorry. I wish I had better news. But this is the reality of parenting when someone else claims genetic rights. It's going to be a fight. I'm tired of fighting, I admitted. I just want to be a mother. I just want Marcus to be a father. I want our babies to grow up without all this darkness hanging over them. Then fight for that, Diana said. Fight for the right to be left alone, to raise your children in peace. That's worth fighting for, isn't it? I looked at Marcus. He looked at me. Yes, we said together. It is. The temporary custody hearing was set for 2 months later. 2 months of living in fear, of bonding with our twins while wondering if one of them might be taken away, of watching Marcus spiral between rage and depression. I should have seen this coming, he said one night. We were up at 3 a.m. with Lily and Noah, both fussy, both demanding, both perfect. How could you have seen it? James was at that restaurant. He approached you, made himself part of our lives. And I let it happen. I was so focused on Richard that I didn't see the new threat. Neither of us saw it, because it's insane. Normal people don't manipulate genetic material to force their way into someone's family. But James isn't normal. He's obsessed, and I missed it. Marcus looked down at Lily in his arms. I promised I'd protect her, both of them, and I'm failing already. You're not failing. You're here at 3 a.m. holding your daughter, being her father. That's not failure. But what if it's not enough? What if the court decides James deserves access? What if they say genetics matter more than love? His voice cracked. What if I lose her, Ava? What if I lose our daughter before she's even old enough to remember me? I didn't have an answer, because that fear was real, possible, terrifying. Then we'll fight harder, I said finally. And if fighting doesn't work, we'll find another way. We'll move, change our names, disappear if we have to. But I'm not letting James take Lily from us, and neither are you. You'd really do that? Give up everything and run? For them? I looked at our twins. For you? Yes, in a heartbeat. Marcus kissed me. I don't deserve you. Yes, you do. You deserve happiness, peace, a family that isn't under constant attack. And I'm gonna make sure you get it, even if I have to break some rules to do it. He smiled slightly. Breaking rules? You? I've learned from the best. We sat there in the nursery, holding our babies, planning escape routes we hoped we'd never need. Because that's what love is sometimes, planning for the worst while hoping for the best. The hearing arrived too fast and too slow at the same time. Diana had prepared everything, expert witnesses, character testimonies, proof of James's manipulation and fraud. But James's lawyers had prepared too. They had genetic tests, proof of biological connection, arguments about fathers' rights and the importance of biological bonds. The judge listened to both sides for 3 hours. Then she made a decision that changed everything. Given the unusual circumstances of this case, I'm ordering supervised visitation, 1 hour per week, supervised by a social worker, for Mr. Chen to bond with the minor child, Lily. My heart stopped. Your Honor, Diana stood immediately. The circumstances aren't just unusual, they're criminals. Mr. Chen obtained genetic material through fraud, which is being investigated separately. But that investigation doesn't change the biological reality. Mr. Chen is the child's father, and unless he's proven to be a danger to the child, he has a right to supervised visitation. He violated my client in a way that created a child who has rights too, including the right to know her biological father. The judge looked at us directly. I understand this is painful for you, Mr. and Mrs. Harrington, but the law is clear. Biology creates certain rights, whether we agree with how that biology came to be. She banged her gavel. The decision was made. James Chen would get to see Lily, hold her, bond with her, 1 hour a week, every week, for the foreseeable future, and there was nothing we could do to stop it. The first visitation was the worst day of my life. Worse than signing the contract. Worse than facing Richard. Worse than everything. Because I had to hand my 3-month-old daughter to a stranger, to a man who'd violated me in the most invasive way possible, and I had to smile and pretend it was fine. She likes to be held close, I told the social worker. Not James. I couldn't speak to him, couldn't look at him. And she doesn't like loud noises, and she needs to eat every 3 hours. And we'll take good care of her, the social worker said kindly. Marcus stood behind me, his hand on my shoulder, silent, rigid, barely holding himself together. James reached for Lily. Don't, Marcus said. Just one word, but it was full of violence. Mr. Harrington, the social worker warned. Marcus stepped back. Just be careful with her. She's fragile. I know, James said. He was looking at Lily with something that might have been love or obsession. Hard to tell the difference. She's my daughter. I'll protect her. She's not your daughter, Marcus said. You're a criminal who forced your way into our family. That doesn't make you a father. The court disagrees. The court is wrong. The social worker stepped between them. Gentlemen, let's keep this civil for the child's sake. Marcus took my hand, squeezed so hard it hurt, and we watched James walk away with our daughter. For 1 hour, she wasn't ours. For 1 hour, she belonged to a man who'd stolen his way into her life. And there was nothing, absolutely nothing, we could do about it. That hour felt like years. Marcus and I sat in the waiting room, not speaking, just holding hands, holding on to each other. What if he runs? I finally said. What if he takes her and disappears and we never... He won't. The social worker won't let him. And if he tries, I'll find him. I'll find him and I'll... He stopped himself. But we both knew what he'd been about to say. When they finally brought Lily back, I grabbed her so fast the social worker flinched. She's fine, she assured me. She slept most of the hour. Mr. Chen just held her, talked to her. Nothing inappropriate. But everything about it was inappropriate. Everything. Same time next week, the social worker said, The judge wants to see consistent visitation before the next hearing. The next hearing? Marcus asked. To determine permanent custody arrangements. Mr. Chen is petitioning for joint custody. Alternating weeks. It'll be in 6 months. 6 months. 6 months of this torture. 6 months of handing our daughter to a criminal once a week. 6 months of wondering if we'd still have her at the end of it. We went home in silence, put Lily in her crib, put Noah next to her, stood there watching them sleep. I can't do this, Marcus said finally. I can't hand her to him every week. I can't watch him pretend to be her father. I can't. His voice broke completely. I can't survive this, Ava. Not again. Not another person taking what's mine. Then we don't survive, I said. We do something else. Like what? I turned to face him. Like what we talked about. We run. We disappear. We take the twins and we go somewhere James can never find us. That's kidnapping. We'd be fugitives. I don't care. I'd rather be a fugitive with my children than a law-abiding parent who has to share custody with a predator. Marcus stared at me. You're serious. Completely. We'd lose everything, the house, the company, our lives here. We'd have each other, and them. That's all that matters. He looked at the twins, then at me. When? Soon. Before the next hearing. Before James gets more attached. Before this gets even more impossible to escape. Diana will try to stop us. Then we don't tell Diana. I grabbed his hand. I know this is insane. I know it makes us criminals. But Marcus, I can't watch another man raise our daughter. I can't, and neither can you. He was quiet for a long time. Then, okay, 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 we run. We disappear. We build a new life somewhere. No one knows the name Harrington. He pulled me close. Because you're right. I can't do this. I can't survive watching James take Lily piece by piece. I'd rather lose everything else than lose her. We started planning that night. Where to go. How to move money without being traced. New identities for all four of us. It was reckless, dangerous, probably impossible. But it was our only choice. Because the law had failed us. The system had failed us. Everything we'd trusted to protect us had decided genetics mattered more than love. So we'd protect ourselves, whatever the cost. That's where I'm leaving you today. Marcus finally chose me, choose our family, choose love over everything else. But that choice came at a terrible cost. Our freedom, our security, our entire life. We're about to become fugitives, criminals, people running from a system that should have protected us, but decided to protect our abuser instead. Is it the right choice? I don't know. Is it the only choice? For us, yes, because sometimes loving someone means breaking all the rules, losing everything, running into the unknown. And that's what we're about to do. Drop a comment with where you're watching from and tell me, would you run? Would you give up everything to protect your children from someone the court says has rights to them? Because that's the choice we're making. And in season 2, you'll see where it takes us. You'll see what happens when we disappear. You'll see if we make it. You'll see if love is enough when the whole world says it isn't. Thank you for being here, for following our story, for believing that family is about more than genetics. Season 2 starts soon, and I promise you, you're not ready for what comes next. End of season 1.